Boom.
Oh, sweet.
Awesome.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Digital Dugout. We've got a very special episode here for you today. We've got two guests, Sorare's own Damien and Jon. You know them well from Discord. Damien and Jon, thank you for being here, guys. Eric, you as well. Always, thank you for being here. How's everybody doing tonight?
Oh, great. It's great. It's lovely to be here with you gentlemen on a fine Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah, thanks for jumping in, fellas. We appreciate it. Nate, caps off to you on that intro video. How about that intro video, boys? Do we like that? Do we like that in the chat? Do we like that?
That gets 5 booms.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a giant smile on my face that entire time. I don't know if you guys can see. And that song's sweet. It fits so well.
Thank you. My brother actually made the song. My brother's a music producer, so
no way.
He made the song, and then the cards are some favorites from mine and Eric's collection. So yeah, intro 1.0. But
yeah, give the background on that, Nate. That's Nate hits me up one day. He's like, "Hey, can you create like a list in your gallery of like your top 20 favorite cards?" Take it away.
Yeah, I didn't give him any context. I just asked him for it, and I was like, I'm gonna do something here, and yeah, it's a combination of our stuff that we won, like big first place finishes, stuff that we just love. Like Eric had found me the Jaron Duran 2022 jersey that he gifted me. I spotted the #1 Lindor, which is one of his guys that he snagged. We've both grabbed, we've been here for a few years now, so we've got some cool stuff in the collection. So yeah, little homage to the galleries, and yeah, just you know me, I like to have fun with it. So
bunch of random ones too. Like that's why I love like the no context behind it. He's like, just throw me like your favorite 20. And I was like, whatever that means, man. Like here's a rare 2022 Jerks and Profar that is one of my favorite 20 cards, and it's just like, why? Because I bought it for like $5 and it was in a lineup that won me a rare Bobby Witt Jr. Just
I remember when
cards.
he won that Bobby Witt, dude.
Yeah. So they all have a story behind them, which is just super cool. So yeah, caps off on that. Welcome everybody. I want to say welcome everyone into the chat too. It's going to be a fun one, boys. For the agenda, just real quick, we're going to be chatting with Damien and Jon for most of the episode here, and then we're going to do the ticket giveaway at the end too. So somebody who's live in the chat today will win 2 tickets to an MLB game of their choice on Sorare, but also on our boy Nate for taking down the creator contest. So attaboy.
Let's go.
Yeah, thanks to Sorare for setting that up. That was fun. We had a good time with it. Looking forward to the next one. Bring some more tickets to the Digital Dugout community. So
yeah, let's run it back. I need my revenge.
Yeah. We'll do a snake draft this time. We'll live stream it.
Yeah, that will be.
That'd be pretty sweet.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think we can make that happen.
I like it. We'll host it. You set it up.
Yep.
Cool. All right. So we've got an hour here. I think you guys good for an hour.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. So we, on Jon's recommendation, sourced questions from our community. And so we've had that going for a couple weeks now. We used an upvote system, and I have taken that and taken everything into account, looked at what the most upvotes got, and did my best to kind of package it up into 5 different, subjects that we can work through. And then to Eric's point, at the end, we will do the MLB ticket giveaway, 2 tickets of your choice. And you do have to be here to submit the entry code, the entry phrase into the chat, but we'll get there when we get there. So to start it off, we wanted to just kind of open it up to a little bit of a general conversation about, we're not quite at the All-Star break here, but we're closer to the midway point than when we started. So what are some of the first half takeaways, with this? We've had big changes this year, right? And some of them have come with some lumps, and others have been really well received. I know that there's things that Eric and I both love, and obviously we're part of the community that wants to see Sorare succeed, and have kind of endured some of those lumps as well. So, things like energy, I love. There's a big question of, is it sticking around, right? We got a big Sorare soccer or football update that has people asking questions. What have your guys' reflections been on how things have happened these first couple of months? And are there any adjustments that we should be expecting, post All-Star break or even before that?
Yeah, for sure. First of all, thank you guys for setting us up, having us on here. Maybe to get it out of the way real quick, first reflection is like, it was lumpy, it was rocky to start. And I know there's been a lot of conversation in the Discord about, bugs, issues, just the product not performing, the way we wanted it to. And, I think we have realized as a team, like we came in ambitious. We wanted to make a lot of changes, experiment with some new concepts that we felt would bring the product forward. And I think as a result, we moved really, really fast. And when you move really fast, sometimes that execution isn't as great. So I think that's the first reflection. Like we don't want to experiment or ship too much at the expense of the great community and everyone playing this game. So I think going forward, you can still expect us to bring out some new things. We've been cooking on something that Jon and I are pretty excited about. It should be out before the All-Star break. That's the minimum deadline I'll give. But that's definitely been a big part. Move a little bit slower, but move more intentionally. Again, so the product experience has been great. You mentioned energy. I think there's some pretty positive early signals there. I think it's important to continue to maintain classic utility, and you see on the football side, they're experimenting with the arena. It's becoming a permanent fixture within their competition set, and that's a way to give classic cards a way to run lineups and win something every day or every game week. On the MLB side, we wanted to bring this concept where you can use an item to give your card in-season utility. And if you look at some of these T0 cards, Aaron Judge, Bobby Witt, there are a lot of factors in it. You're seeing the in-season and classic prices trend fairly similarly. So that's what we want. We want these cards, these heavy hitters, again, to have like fairly regular value because you can scout them early on in their career or years prior and use them to still get you rewards. So there's some promising signals there. I think there are things to like iterate and tweak, but energy has been promising. Special edition cards. We're doing a lot of those. We love them. I think the community, the users love them. Those Tokyo editions are fucking incredible. Like,
so cool.
Hopefully cursing's allowed in the street.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, Eric, hopefully your son's in the other room.
Let it rip. He doesn't understand those words yet anyway.
But like they're beautiful. And we're trying to do them in a way where we can tell a story. People feel the collectability and the connection to them. So we want to continue to do those. We're looking at we're cooking special editions as well for MLB through the rest of the season. So that's been something that we've seen is really positive, and you can already see how they're kind of coming out across the board in NBA and in football. Like it's something we really like to do. And then daily gameplay, like I don't know about you guys, but the rewards aren't as good as what you would see in biweekly, but like I personally, it's the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning. I like, not just because it's my job, like I check Sorare and I set a daily derby and I set a daily swing. And I think one of the things that I've personally learned, like way more so than basketball when we introduced daily, there are so many like nuances to the sport of baseball that like actually make running daily and bi-weekly a little bit trickier than just like, oh, hey, we can just take this out of the box from what we built for NBA and it'll work. Games getting delayed, being moved to kind of partial double headers, having double headers. These are the types of things that are just like that just jump out at you and you're like, okay, like it's not necessarily an edge case, but it's a part of the game of baseball. But again, when you're moving fast, like those are some of the things that we learned, and we're like, okay, we got to figure out how to actually like make this smooth and automated. So that's something I think we've learned as a team. And then lastly, we recently released missions. I think those have been a fun part of the game. I think we're trying to like calibrate the difficulty and how much you get rewarded, and what you get rewarded. So that's something I think across the product, baseball, basketball, soccer, football, like you're going to see us like continue to ship new missions, new experiences around. So we feel like that's a good way to reward managers, not just for like placing well on the leaderboard, but like, hey, maybe your lineup's not doing too well, but Luis Robert, gets you a dinger like he did last night, and like that should feel rewarding to you on a given night. So that's something we love, and sealing vaults. We're learning about the behaviors. We had some hypotheses that have kind of been proven, going into like releasing the feature, but we like how people are engaging with it, and we want to continue to reward people that have big galleries. And so we're thinking about ways to use that feature to do just that. So all in all, like, I'm just most frustrated that there have been so many bugs, because I think, aside of that, like the gameplay feels like it's still pretty good. Daily's working pretty well. Missions are engaging, and now we just need to kind of get better and clean up the act. And it's a daily grind, and it's not lost on me that's frustrating for you guys.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say that the gameplay is amazing, and that's why people are still here through the frustration, right? Like I think that's why people get so frustrated, is that we don't want Sorare to go anywhere. We want this thing to succeed, but obviously people are spending real money, right? And you want to be rewarded with a product that kind of reflects the investment that we're making into Sorare, that we're feeling it back. And yeah, you've stated that maybe things moved a little bit too fast, and I think that that's what people have felt, where there needs to be this mission where the meta of the game doesn't get destroyed. I don't know if you guys play Apex or Fortnite or things like that, but when they break a gun, it ruins everything. And fortunately for them, all they have to do is patch it, and we're good to go. You guys don't have that benefit. You release cards that are incorrect, et cetera, et cetera. That's a permanent mistake. So I think that we all as a community understand that this is a startup, right? And there's going to be big changes. And I think that, Eric and I were very excited to see the gamification grow so significantly this year. I just hope that we don't get that much change again next year, because in order to find that meta and figure out your lane and how your particular gallery works with it, you need to be able to kind of, okay, let the dust settle. Can I stack energy going into 2026, or is that going to go away the same way that Boosts did, right? Like, those types of questions make it hard for people to decide what they're going to do, right? Reading that Sorare soccer update made me take pause on what's the value of classic cards. Is energy going to go away? Because right now, my classic cards feel more valuable than ever. I won champion a couple weeks ago, and I had 6 of my 7 cards energized, right? So I think that those are the types of things where people want to know, what can we expect? Is everything going to get flipped on its head all of a sudden again, just because things didn't exactly go correctly? So, I mean, I appreciate everything that you said there, and I definitely hope that those missions stay at the top.
For sure. I got to follow up on that, Damien, before we get too far away from it. You mentioned, and I don't know if you could shed any light on it or not, but a couple hypotheses that you had when it came to sealing, vaulting, and having both the reward bonus and the player loyalty bonus. Can you shed any light on those hypotheses and how they were kind of proven out here over the course of the first half of the season?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the first reaction that everyone has, like, even internally before we released the feature, was, this is a great way to get utility out of my T5, T4, T3 cards. Mm-hmm. Like, this is awesome. Get a reward boost from that. And I think one of the things that we were thinking about was like, how do we get people to be interested in sealing like star players, T1s, T2s? And like the hypothesis going into it was just like it's a really, really high bar. You'd have to basically double or triple someone's reward, using a reward booster, give them some other way to get utility from these cards because they're just too valuable in gameplay. And that's what you see, like we don't see people sealing, these big stars unless they have multiple copies because they've got big collections. They're more collectors than maybe fantasy players, which is great. It's a system for everyone, and that's where the player loyalty tried to fill the gap. But yeah, the learning was like, this is a great way to give utility for lower tier cards, and we should be 100% okay with that. We don't need people to put Shohei Ohtani into their vault. That's where you're gonna make your money in the fantasy competition. So it was, I was glad it kind of played out. Yeah, so that was probably the main thing coming in.
Cool, man. Yeah, that's really cool to kind of see where you guys kind of came from with that, having the T5s in mind specifically, cards that you wouldn't necessarily ever play, using them to your benefit. So that's cool, man.
Retired guys,
Yeah.
So you'll start seeing some legends retire from the game, and it'll be awesome to put them in the vault, and they'll be able to still get you something. It's what you see on the football side. They've got some legend cards, some coaches, and you steal those cards and you still get value from them, and that's what it's all about. So.
Yeah, that's something I really liked about this half of the season too. I mean, I think I'm at 250 sealed cards myself, and it was a strategy whether or not I wanted to do that to begin with, right? Like, which ones am I going to seal? Now I'm at the point where I think it's another 70 more to get to 320 for the next level, and it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to do 70 right now, right? Maybe in the off season I'll take a look at it again, but like now it comes down to, I don't even have to have like my guys that are on the 10-day IL be sealed up, right? If I get a card that's going towards another collection bonus or something like that, I seal it up and then I can unseal one, right? So stuff like that starting to come into play and be a more overall kind of like, my favorite part about Sorare is being the GM. So that takes everything into account. So that's cool.
Yeah. So. And one thing I'd say is like, I've enjoyed sealing my card. I know we built the feature, but like I've enjoyed sealing I have 2 Luis Roberts because I'm a psycho White Sox fan, and he's finally got another slump. There you go. Got a couple Andrew McCutcheons, and these are lower tier guys, but they can still get you something on a given day. And vault picks has been great for them. They've actually gotten me a couple, hit me a couple missions, right? So we want to continue to like reward people like you, people with big galleries with duplicates, for sealing their cards and then making the right choice on a given day. And a lot of times it'll be essence, but sometimes it'll be even cash. And when we started the vault pick missions, that was one of the things we saw was for the first time people were starting to seal higher tier cards because now you can use them in lineups in a given game week, but also on a given day to see if you can get an extra 25 to 75 essence. So
for sure.
All right. In the interest of making sure that we get through enough community questions here, I'm sure that we could talk about this for an hour, but let's move on to the next subject here, and then if we have time at the end, we can circle back. This one's a tough one, man, and it is one of by far the biggest conversation pieces that we see in Discord, and it's the pace of minting. And we saw a precedent get set for the first 3 years. Obviously, 2022 was kind of a half season, so it's an asterisk, but for the most part, for the first 3 years of Sorare, let's just focus on limited. Everything's, tiered up from there. But we saw about 200 cards per player get minted at the limited level for the first 3 years. We're approaching 300 per player, and we're not even at the All-Star break this season. The question is, with all of that precedent having been set, with the market having kind of established what prices were supposed to look like, knowing that people were going to buy at those prices going into this year. Was there, what was the thought process with that? What was the mission there? What was the rationale behind it? And was there any thought behind giving your current user base some type of heads up before making such a significant change?
Yeah, I think the trade-off is certainly with the rate of minting, like the obviously how the price dynamic is, and what we saw in the NBA. Like, I think to be transparent, like with the in-season model, we want to get as many cards out as early in the season as possible because that's when they have the maximum utility. And we implemented that strategy on the football side, and it was fairly successful. Similar with NBA, and we wanted to. We took the same approach with MLB. I think the minting rate in past years has definitely led to a much more stable market, which is obviously where we want to go to in the long term. But for Sorare, at times there were like hundreds of cards not minted by the end of the season, and as in order to kind of keep the game going, we need to market cards, we need to sell cards. So moving into this in-season classic model, we wanted to kind of push cards out at a little bit of a higher rate. We definitely could have prepared the community for that, to make sure that expectation was clear. But again, it was something that we wanted to make sure that again we could do to maximize the utility of the in-season cards. So
yeah, something there.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, as I guess my follow up to that would be like, as the season goes on, like, are you still going to be minting as much? First of all, secondly, I know like kind of a follow up that I thought was a perfect transition from the last one is that the classic cards are reaching the in season card levels, and you said that that's where you kind of want to see it to go, but eventually it's just going to bring it all down together, right? What justifies, I guess, the amount of sales at the higher amount of sales at a lower price compared to, lower amount of sales at a higher price per card? Have you been seeing actual growth in users because of the lower cost of entry, or is that the overall goal, or anything behind that? Would love to hear more.
No, for sure. So I think we've looked at the minting rate, and it's something we've definitely talked about internally. I think we want to slow it down. I think something we did in the NBA was, we ended up minting and selling almost too many cards, such that when it came time for NBA playoff editions, they didn't necessarily feel as special, or some players couldn't even get a special edition minted of them, right? So I think we want to be more judicious about how we handle the rest of the season, the second half of the season, again, to make space for those collectible prints, those collectible runs, and to ensure like that there's stability in the market. So it's definitely something we've monitored, and we don't want to let get away from us. So we've slowed the auction pace in the past couple of weeks. Honestly, there have been days or stretches where there have been no auctions. So it's something that we want to continue to maintain, and let the instant buy market satisfy demand where necessary.
Sure.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I can understand. My guess when we were 2 weeks into it was that you were going to front load like crazy, right? And then slow down significantly. And I think that the key there was that it just needed to happen a little bit sooner, in my opinion. I'm not running Sorare, right? I understand that there's a whole lot of different levers being pulled and a whole lot of different things that need to happen for Sorare to be a successful company. But definitely, I don't play NBA. I played Common, but I don't play limited NBA. But I heard that this was an issue on the NBA side. And at the end of the day, people, of course you have to factor in the utility that you get for the duration of owning a card. One of the first cards I bought was a $100 Trey Turner that was worth $50 a couple weeks later and is worth $8 now. But I've used it in countless lineups that have won prizes and money, et cetera, et cetera. So I understand that that is part of the value that I purchased, but you also don't want it to become a graveyard, right? We've got really relevant players that are getting auctioned off for $3 right now. And so there's got to be some type of balance there where we maintain a marketplace that actually represents the talent of the players that we're then putting into our lineups. Because if it becomes just too low a bar, then all of a sudden, I don't know. You could have told me that the objective was for limited to just be a lot more cost accessible, right? And that rare was going to become the new limited. And obviously, eventually over time, that's going to play out by default because of the nature of the fact that each year we're going to have a new batch of each player. So at the end of the day, I think that it's just hoped by everybody that these things are being thought about like really critically and not eventually going to just kind of cannibalize that whole market for the sake of just minting as many as we can. So definitely a pain point, definitely something that, bought a Bobby Witt for $110 a couple months ago and I could get him for $25 now. So that's tough. Yeah, there you go. Good timing. But again, I understand that I'm here early. It's still early. And like I said at the top of the show, the gameplay is phenomenal. That's why I'm here. It's become my tagline, but I've literally quit every other fantasy baseball league that I was in because this is more fun to me. So I want it to succeed, but I also want my collection to maintain some value as the years maintain. So
for sure.
Cool. All right, John, anything from you?
Dude, I prefaced this intro with you guys. I was like, I'm gonna let Damien do a lot of the talking. I'm just here to be a pretty face.
I just want to make sure that we weren't talking too much and that you had your space. But if you're good, we're good.
No, I'll interject at some point. I'm sure there'll be a question for me. That's a nice softball that could really hit out of the park. So
I think we got one for you at the end, John.
I'm waiting for it, man.
We'll let you cook.
I'm letting the master do all the talking, man. This is his baby, so gotta.
All right, so it's in a similar subject here of card distribution, but there's obviously a lot of conversation about tightening up which cards are being distributed, and the reward algorithm gets talked about a lot. I think that remains flawed, in my personal opinion. I think that the tiers are greatly improved this year. That, without a doubt, if you avoid a landmine, the star tier, the T1 tier, the T2 tier, much better than they were last year. So I think that is a great improvement. But we've also got minting of players at incorrect positions. We've got minting and crafting of players that are either injured or in the minors. And to me, this was like a really impressive thing that Sorare was hanging their hat on for the first few years that I was here. I really loved that when a player got hurt, their auctions just got cut off. They were no longer available. You certainly weren't getting them as a reward. Is that a product of moving too fast? And this is one of the things that got broken. Is there an intention to tighten up this distribution, or have we moved on to a place where obviously the intention can't be to be minting guys that are in AAA, but injured guys, what's the general approach there? Is that an intentional change this year that injured players are being minted? We didn't see Acuna until he started, so that he wasn't being minted, but Ketel Marte was on the IL for 15 days and his cards kept going. And we've seen that with multiple other guys. So what's the approach there? Both with, injured and minor league players, but also, is there an intention to fix this reward tier in a way where, whether or not Sorare thinks it's correct, I think that it's played out that the community disagrees. And when somebody's hitting a podium and getting a Christian Campbell that's now worth $2 a couple weeks later, it shouldn't go that way, in my opinion. It should be bona fide stars that are getting distributed, especially when you're hitting a podium. But I mean, just the other week, I hit a T1 and there were guys like Ketel Marte and other big bats and I got a Palencia because there were only 50 of them at that point. So what's the approach there, and what's the intention moving forward?
Yeah. So first, starting with like the AAA guys, I think that's just something we need to tighten up on our end. I saw a question in the comments as well about players who haven't been minted yet. We've been taking steps to like better manage the player population. One, to like get big guys, big prospects who are getting called up, or players who started on the IL, or players who got traded into the player population. And then also guys who've been DFA'd, like should be deactivated. I will say there were some like changes to like the back end architecture over the last 12 months where I do think we lost some like really good sound like automated processes that filtered out these players. So that's something that we can and should definitely improve. Going to rewards, we've got a guy on the game ops team. He likes to keep a low profile. He knows ball, and he does his absolute best to audit these rewards before distribution. So we've tried to soften or make the landmines fewer. But the tiering is largely driven by market movement and market prices. And I know there's a timing component when you get a player who just has a thin supply, just got called up. That valuation might bump them up maybe a tier or two. But it's something that we try to screen for when we close fixtures. But there are a lot of rewards to distribute, and do acknowledge that some of them go through the cracks. In terms of injuries, it's a very, very good piece of feedback. I think we wanted to kind of stretch the threshold from when we deactivated or like removed players from circulation. Felt that like the IL-10 or IL-15 was a reasonable enough window where they had some timeline to return to the game, and getting a guy like Cadel Marte on the IL-10 or IL-15 is still pretty exciting because he's going to come back and be productive for you. But if that's leading to like a poor experience for managers where they're not excited to get that reward or they don't feel like they can use it, then it's something that we can definitely revisit and tighten again. But it was a way to try and get players in there who again are injured, given just how dynamic the MLB injured list is. So definitely very valid. I'm keen to hear more on just your take there on the IL-10, IL-15, if that's like too much, like you want those guys out of there.
I think that the problem is that the market correction in the sentiment of what a player is worth happens immediately, right? So think about when you're playing traditional fantasy baseball. A guy gets hurt, all of a sudden he's untradeable, right? Who's going to go acquire an injured player? Obviously, there is room for that in Sorare because it's a different format. But I think that if you want to acquire a player, you go get it from a manager, a secondary manager sale that is willing to dump at a pennies on the dollar. But when you're minting in-season cards, the problem is that even if it only lasts a week or two, you've now diminished the value of a guy like Glasnow, right? I'm pretty sure Glasnow is still getting minted right now. He's been out for a while, and his price just got driven into the ground. And there's so many of him that have been acquired at that price that even when he comes back, the likelihood that his price rebounds to what it should be, it's just, he was so easy to acquire for so long. So I think the problem is that the diminishing value happens instantaneously. And you also kind of, you have this, I don't know, that it happens so fast, and it shouldn't be something in circulation in my opinion.
Makes sense.
Cool. Eric, did you have anything you wanted to add on that?
No, I'm good on that one. That's a good point. I mean, it is good to hear from Damien's end that, like, I get it, right? The IL-10 can be quicker than you thought. It could be a good chance to acquire, but at the same time, there's multiple ways to acquire cards, right? It doesn't always come down to auction. It could be an instant buy or manager sale too. And I personally think it's healthy to have a healthy manager sale market, which has been really rough, because that's part of the game as well, right? That's part of being a GM of your own gallery. I'm looking ahead to playoffs this year, where that's where I really kind of make my buy decisions on certain guys, right? And I can already tell that I'm not gonna have the same opportunity to sell guys this year come playoffs that I did last year, to kind of fuel what my bankroll looks like as, a GM. So it's stuff like that that's kind of, taken into the dynamic. So, but it is good to hear that there's, the IL 10 was a thought. I was one of the guys who bought Ketel Marte when he was injured on auction for dirt cheap, and I think I paid $6 for him with my 50%, and that was 2 months ago, and I've gotten a lot of use out of him, and his price is probably still the same, right around 10 to 12 right now. So it's funky how it works. We've said it a lot of times here, but there's a lot of levers to be pulled in the sport of baseball. And then with the new dynamic of the game, where you throw the other wrench into there, is where you're playing 3 in-season lineups this year, and we didn't have that last year either. So that's just another one. It's makes sense sometimes to have 2 in-season Ohtanis. I know Nate loves that. Or 3 to 4 to 5 in-season Devers that you're playing in every single lineup, plus daily, plus whatever
plus max loyalty.
Yeah,
So it does make sense, sometimes, but it really depends. It's different.
I totally hear you guys on the player population. I think that's something that's like an action item for me, honestly, coming out of this, is to like make sure we have a good grip on who's active, who's not, and just find the balance in minting. John can attest that it's something that I've been a little bit more focused on, over the past couple of weeks. And it's definitely somewhere we can get better. I think maybe just going back to I know you guys maybe have some other questions, but like talking about the primary market, secondary market, like this is why energy as a feature is like personally so important to me, because I want to continue to find ways for So Rare to engage managers and, quite frankly, sell something like energy to managers. So we don't have to, like, look, we're a business. Like, we got to generate some revenue. Like, we can obviously do that in the secondary market when it's healthy, flourishing, lots of customers, etc. But the reality of the situation is like, a lot with like the take rate, on a sale is higher in the primary market. And, in order to keep the company as a going concern, that's something like we've prioritized probably too much in the past. And again, like energy as like a concept is like something so important to me, right? It's like, how can you give managers the ability to play these cards without having to go to the primary market and quite frankly, get more value out of them in the secondary market? Because now, hey, I've got 75 energy. I'm totally willing to go pay, or maybe, like, whatever. I can go get 75 energy. Let's put it that way. I'm now willing to go engage in the secondary market, whether that's a direct offer, whether that's actually just a manager's sale. And now, boom, I can use that classic card. I can, with as little restriction or friction, right? So it's not just minting in the primary and then letting the in-season secondary flourish. It's how do we find all seasons a way to flourish and have liquidity. And I think we're like in this transition period where we're obviously trying to optimize for certain metrics as a business, but we're also trying to continue to find features that, like, I guess, like, give this like control and flexibility back to managers. And it's like, it is a very tough balance. And like John and I are whiteboarding about this shit all the time, all day. And like, I understand the pain. We understand the challenges that are happening right now, but it's it's something that's trying to improve every week, every day we come in. So
For sure.
I think that to me, energy is the best thing that you guys have done so far. Like it truly is. Like when I first got here, when Eric first showed this game to me at the beginning of the 2023 season, the hook for me was build this collection that just continues to be useful forever. So my goal for 2 years was get one of everybody, and I did that. And this year I finally have that, and I'm feeling the benefit of it. I was playing Moneyball for half a season, and then I was playing a little more than that for the second half of the 23 season. And then last year I got a little more competitive. And this year I got one of everybody, and it works because of energy. So I think that your point is spot on, that you have made those secondary sales, those classic cards, more valuable, because I am willing to just I'll go spend a little bit less to go grab a classic, knowing that I can energize it as long as I prioritize Challenger correctly. The fear becomes, are you going to pull that out for me in the off season? And now all of a sudden I made the decision to invest further in these classic cards that next year I find out I'm only allowed to use one per champ lineup again. And so when we do have these announcements coming out in parallel on the football side of things, it creates that fear, especially when we have witnessed so much change through the first 3 years. So I just think that communication is so important. And I understand that you guys you're balancing a lot. It's a moving target and you're figuring out what works, but I just hope that it's not, overlooked, that if something like energy was to be drastically changed next year, you've got people that are going to be banking energy, getting ready for a big 2026, right? I'm doing that in rare because I don't have a big rare collection, but I would like to, and I'd like to bank rare energy knowing that maybe next year I want to put a little bit more money into it. If all of a sudden that's without value, that will be a really, really tough pill to swallow. So I'm sure that you can't tell us whether or not energy is going to be part of the game next year, but I personally it'd be devastating for something of that magnitude to get the script flipped on it.
Well, what I obviously can't talk about next season, but like what I can say about the rationale behind football is energy is like a really, really big change to like the game economy and the market and manager psychology. And we've got a tight knit, very savvy community in MLB. In football, it's a big community. There are a lot of cards that have been minted because it's been around for a few years longer. And for a big feature like this, hey, for once we didn't move too fast. The feedback loop from MLB to like this football announcement was too short. So it's like we want to collect like more data, learn more about the feature. Like you said, I think it's already been very promising. I think it's encouraging the right manager behaviors. It's leading to like a positive user experience for you guys. So that was the rationale. It's just like, hey, it's a big change. Like we already want to make some big changes elsewhere. Like let's learn more. Let's get more data points about it, and before we kind of scale it up and take on its next form. So that was really the main thinking there.
One last thing I want to add to, kind of to both your points, and I certainly appreciate so much your two's work and you whiteboarding out and how much you care about the game and about the community and what you do. Nate, I think to kind of piggyback off of what you had mentioned about energy next year, I think what I've learned is that there's so many possibilities, right? What if energy is not earnable next year, but what if it's buyable, like Damien said? Right now, that changes your strategy going into the season again as to, am I bidding on new auctions or am I just buying a bunch of energy to use my huge collection like I have? And does that make sense? Right. So I'm curious to kind of see, how it continues to move forward. But I think everyone's on the same page with having your classic cards continue to have utility as much as possible. So it's huge. It's huge to me too. I think we see it in our Discord all the way, all the time. We like it. So,
yeah. Keep the energy. All right. We are dwindling on time, so we're going to do some quick hits here and make sure that we save time for the ticket giveaway at the end. We've got a good number of people in here. Appreciate everybody sticking around, being part of this conversation.
Hey, quick shout out right now while we have it to the clubhouse and the vets and the whole entire Discord, to be honest. If you're not in the Discord yet out there, make sure to jump in the Digital Dugout Discord. We have a blast. We keep the vibes up. It's just a fun place to be. So we'd love to see you in there and meet you. If you're not already a part of the group, I see a ton of people in here who are. So shout out to you all for being just awesome members of the community. You know who you are. I won't call you all out by name, but join the Discord if you're not in there already, and shout out to the clubhouse and vets.
Yes. And like the video. All right, here we go. Well, let's keep this one to a 5-minute conversation. Sorry. I think that it's this one.
John knows I talk a lot.
Yeah, hey, I'd be happy to be here for 3 hours, but I know that you guys got other things to do. So, quality of life improvements. There's two that we see a lot that are, significant feedback over and over again. Filters on daily swing, right? Either don't use criteria that you don't have the functionality for it to be a smooth user experience, or add those filters. And we all see that there's filters at different parts of the website. So it's frustrating to be like, we've got all these toggles. How can we not identify which player is under the age of 27 while I'm setting my lineup and having to Google, oh, Josh Naylor's birthday is too early and blah, 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 like crazy, like little paper cuts that don't need to happen. And then the other piece of that is one that was just a super positive when we had it and now it's gone, was a game week leaderboard of player performances. There was a time where we could go and see the prior game week or the active game week, who the top starting pitchers were, who the top relievers were, who the top corner infielders were. And unless I just don't know where it is, I haven't seen that. So I think that that's really valuable information, because it gives you an idea of how far you were away from having the optimal lineup, but it also conveys the fact that you don't need Ohtani every week, right? Like Ian Happ is going off this game week. He would be right at the top of that outfielder leaderboard, and it would show you that you don't need to spend $200 on a lineup to place high in Sorare. So I think that it behooves Sorare to have that type of information visible as well. So are those types of things being worked on?
Yes. It's so the lineup builder, we just had to pause the development of it because we actually had one of our devs like dislocate his elbow, which was tough. Very. So like that is definitely being worked on for sure. And then literally I was just wireframing that exact thing, the game week daily player performance leaderboard for individual players with our designer. So like these things are being worked on in Figma, and these quality of life things are definitely stuff that we want to ship soon. So totally agree with you. I hate when we run age-based competitions and I'm Googling player ages, and then I totally agree with you with the scouting stuff. So 100% agree with you. I can say with confidence that they're being worked on, designed, and we want to ship them soon. So
cool. All right. So before we get to the giveaway, I wanted to just kind of end here with a question of what is the long-term vision here? Obviously the big question is, how are we attracting a bigger user base? Because it feels that we're seeing roughly the same number of entries that we were seeing last year. I think a lot of us hope that the success of the football product is kind of that's the guiding, like that's kind of the cornerstone, and that there's time for MLB and NBA to be figured out in the meantime. But obviously there's only so much time to figure something out until plugs start getting pulled. And we all want this thing to stick around. We all enjoy playing it. So what's the long-term vision to attract new users, we've talked a lot about smoother rollout, so we can leave that to the side. You've already touched on that a lot, Dame. But yeah, what are we working towards? Like, what is the vision here? What is the multi-year goal? And what is there some confidence that you can instill in the community that we're working towards something that's stable and hopefully going to grow in the not so distant future?
Yeah, for sure. So I think there's two things we're looking at, right, that it boils down to. The first is like monetization. Like when Sorare started, it was like, hey, everyone, buy cards, and it was in a crazy NFT bubble. So everyone was buying cards, flipping them for more than they were worth, and all that stuff. And that's when you reflect on it, kind of felt like a Ponzi pyramid type situation. Not like we're actively trying to run a Ponzi, but it was just like, hey, like, buy these cards for more money than they were worth, and everyone was totally excited to play in like that speculative game that was almost not even related to fantasy baseball or fantasy sports itself, right?
Yep.
So how do we build a monetization model that is sustainable and that works well, and that works for users, that works for managers, both in the short term and in the long term? So there is like that long-term monetization thinking that happens every single day. It's so rare. It's not about like, hey, how can we move the goalposts to like rug them and squeeze like more revenue for 6 more months? Like, everyone is so obsessed internally with this game and can see how how it scales and how it can be great. So it's just trying to figure that out for the customer base. I think, and that's where we've decided to be, I guess, a little bit more conservative on the user acquisition side. We want to bring people into a game and an environment that is like vibrant and not necessarily just fairly volatile. So we appreciate all the users and all the customers that have been with us and have been giving us feedback on these changes and iterations and helping us get better. And then the second piece is like, this is a complex game. It's a deep game. And figuring out how to get people into the game, adopting it, comfortable, and then ready to kind of join the paid game has been something that we've been really focused on as well. That's where there's been a lot of work done on the common game. I don't know if you guys play football or soccer, but there's a lot of since Rivals was sunset, we're releasing common card packs, a deeper common game that really teaches not just the fantasy component, but also the collecting. So we really want to get that right to where we feel like that lower tier free to play entry game or entry level is like something that, I guess new users can be excited about. And we saw some, early signals of that on NBA, which is why we've doubled down on the common game in football, and which is why you have the common cards in baseball. So, it's really figuring out how to activate those new users really well, build a smooth onboarding journey, all while figuring out the monetization for our existing users, existing customers, in a way that just works well for like the entire user base. So those are two planes that people have the luxury of building one of. While it's flying, we're building two of them, I guess, at the same time, and it's all a balance of trade-offs, prioritization, and the long-term vision is to bring as many people in here and realize how great the game is, and yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, go ahead, Eric.
We talked about this in the Discord one time, and it was something that I didn't really ever have time to kind of follow up with, but it's a very interesting concept in my mind. It's how long did it take for DFS to catch on, right? Like, are you using kind of that concept as a yard marker to Sorare success, right? Like in the background while you were just talking right now, Damien, my mind went back to it from a conversation we had in Discord a couple weeks ago. And I just Googled, I was like, when did DraftKings launch? When did FanDuel launch? Right. And it was 2009 for FanDuel, 2012 for DraftKings. Maybe Google failed me, but that sounds about right in my mind. We're, 12, 15 years away from that now. And I would assume that they didn't have the most user base like when they started either. Do you guys look at things like the trajectory of those two platforms and, kind of use that as a yard marker for what Sorare is doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's great because one of our senior leaders at Sorare was early at DraftKings.
Cool.
So it's really nice to stay grounded, because it's hard, especially when things don't go well, rollout's not great, customers are frustrated. But it's great to stay grounded in the fact that the journey that DraftKings at least went on felt very similar. There were some highs, there were some lows. It took them a while to kind of figure it out. Their marketing strategy changed, their user acquisition strategy changed. The business model had to evolve a little bit. So these things take time, and we want to continue to execute better every single day. But yes, we definitely look at those examples and try to learn where we can.
Nice.
Cool. All right. Well, we are approaching an hour here, so this is going to take a little bit of time. So let's the MLB ticket giveaway, courtesy of Sorare / courtesy of my rivalry weekend creator contest champion lineup. Well, co-champion Mike Z. Mike Z did well as well. The entry code is going to be Digital Dugout. So very simply, in the comments, type Digital Dugout. We will pull your name into a list, and then we will randomize it live on screen. So if you're on Twitter, you got to come over here. The link is in the tweet. Come on over to YouTube, jump into the YouTube comments, and type Digital Dugout to enter for the MLB ticket giveaway. Guys, any other closing thoughts? Anybody, as we wait for some of these to come rolling in?
I just want to say thank you guys. One, for being leaders in the community, keeping the vibes high, and also just to everyone on the stream and all the Sorare MLB users, for sticking with us. It's not an easy journey. We're trying to build something brand new. It's this type of game or product I've never seen before, which is what excited me so much about it. Jon and I were literally yelling at each other in the office today about the product and the direction. And so the passion from the team is there, and so just appreciate all the support.
Absolutely, man. Eric and I love what we do here. We do this because we love talking about this product, because we love playing this game. I mean, Eric hit me up 2 years ago and was like, "Hey, I saw you do some stuff about candy. I've been doing some stuff about this. I've got this new idea," and I hadn't even bought my first Sorare card yet, and here we are. So I have a serious addiction to this game because it is such a good version of fantasy baseball. It's such a good version of fantasy sports. If your guy gets injured, if your lineup is shot, you toss it away and you set a new one a couple days later. And I just love that your ability to know the game isn't jeopardized by the fact that the guys that you drafted at the beginning of April ended up not being those guys. So the lineups are small enough that it's not just having all the best guys either, right? It still takes skill to know the game. So Sorare has created this thing that has supplanted this game that I played for 2 decades, and now I only play this version of it. And we love talking about it. We love collecting it. We love our community. We love the people that show up in the Digital Dugout Discord and talk about their wins, their losses, who's going on paternity leave, who stubbed their toe that morning. The amount of information that gets, passed around is just awesome. It's I don't know. It's fun. It's fun to be in that community and talk about it. And like Eric had already stated, we really appreciate what you guys do too, because we know it's not easy. We know that you are this middleman between, the angry mob and the king at certain times. And we understand that it's not always easy to roll out a new product and things go wrong. But I also understand why the community cares so much, right? It's real money, that it's hard-earned money that people are choosing to spend here. They could be spending elsewhere. And it's not tens of dollars either. This is not this is not your low barrier to entry game, right? It costs real money to play this game, and people have real expectations because of it. And I think that that's totally reasonable. I think that there's a right way to convey your opinion, but at the end of the day, everybody's entitled to say what they want to say. So we do appreciate the way that you guys are that buffer, and that you take it on the chin and you move forward and you still care about what it is that you're doing. So appreciate you coming on tonight and being part of this conversation and giving us the best answers that you've got at this juncture. And we look forward to having you on again and having that next iteration.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Well said.
Hell yeah.
100%. Let's go.
Hell yeah.
Let me speak my piece, guys. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate you being here, John.
All right, Nate, I got the list rocking and rolling.
You feeling good about it?
I'm feeling good about it. So what I did, if you're good with it, there were, and it's impossible. So I'll give you one last chance to type in digital dugout. Let's give like 30 more seconds to jump in there, type digital dugout. I got everybody who wrote that in there. And if it's good with you, there's 5 additional people who did not type it, who commented in the chat. There's no way to account for the other 60 who are watching live right now.
Throw them in there.
But 18 is our number now. If you commented at any time during this chat, I got your name down on the list and you're good to go. So any last people who want to get in there, 30 seconds left, you're good to go.
Here, I'll even throw this on the screen just to make sure. If you don't see your name here, I should probably share my screen, huh?
Oh man, I hope it's not a wheel. Gonna go back to the All-Star debacle last year.
If you don't see your name here, if we happen to have missed it, type it in the chat right now. We'll make sure we get you in there.
You're gonna have to have a not microscope to see that list if you don't zoom in on it a little bit.
Okay.
I don't think anyone can see their name.
You're gonna use a microphone or a telescope?
Both. All right, let's give away some tickets.
All right, let's do it.
Here we go.
You're gonna do the rules a third time?
I'm going to do 3 rolls. So we got Hey Eagle FN, Jetty Guri, Aaron Borland, Southpaw, Robert Hardy, Taylor, Kickin' 19, Lub, Hunter, James, Miguel, Jump Shoot, Aaron Dean, Aethers, Sean, Joe Connors, Greg Camp. We got you all in here. I'm going to roll this 3 times. So I'm going to roll it once and it's going to generate a list of all your names. Somebody's going to be in that one position. That is meaningless because I'm still going to roll it 2 more times. On the 3rd time, whoever's in that one spot, you get the tickets. Here we go.
Here we go.
Sorry, Hunter.
Sure,
1, 2, and this is the 1. 3, Aaron Dean taking home the tickets.
Machine Dean.
Machine Dean.
Someone get that. That's crazy. We gotta give tickets to both Aarons. Like that's just that's like a crazy coincidence that the 2 Aarons.
Back to back.
Aaron Borland, if you want to hit me up, we'll make it top 2. No problem.
There we go.
There you go.
Boom.
John hooking it up. Damien hooking it up. We're giving away 2. Double Aaron.
Love it.
Yeah, guys.
4 A's. I've never seen so many A's in my life.
Love it.
Awesome.
All right, guys. That was awesome. Really appreciate you coming on. Great conversation. Appreciate the 60 people that have been in here watching live. Awesome turnout tonight. Hope everybody enjoyed the stream, and we will see you guys in the next one. Thanks again,
Awesome.
Dame and John.
Thank you again, guys.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Go Sox.
Oh, rough.